Hey everyone, it's Docfire, and we're down for a first installment of a Docfire Down and Dirty tech review or tech on the new Tippmann Omega airsoft rifle. And this tech is going to be over velocity adjustment and how to set the velocity adjustment, because although Tippmann provides a rather large manual. Actually, they made GI Sports is now owns Tippmann. The manual's pretty weak. It actually has your safety stuff, which is the majority of it. Warnings, don't shoot yourself in the eye. And then it talks about using your 5/64 wrench, which is included to take apart some stuff at the back. It's not really clear. Then it at least tells you which way the internal regulator, which way to move the adjustment screw up and down, so you can figure out or so you can adjust your velocity. And then the rest of the manual has a diagram. It's pretty poor. It's actually not that accurate. It's hard to read. They have a poorly written, in my fence, or my what I'm thinking is I've read it's poorly written. It's hard to read. But here gives your rate of fire. So if it's green, it's 10. If it's orange, it's 20. If it's red, it's 25. The LED. And then how to do your hop-up adjustment, how to clean your barrel, and then troubleshooting. And it's amazing, the troubleshooting guides for an AEG, so that's garbage. But anyway, how do you adjust your feet per second? Well, they give you some Allens. It's great. You have to take off your upper to adjust it. The Allens they give you don't fit these takedown screws. You only need the front one. So you'll need an Allen set. I kind of wish companies would, Allen sets are cheap. I wish they would provide them, but they don't. So that's your first step. First step is I recommend is to slide this all the way off. You don't have to. You can just slide it a little bit, because your goal is you want to access this screw. There's two screws. There's one here, and there's one coming up from the bottom underneath this grip. Yes, underneath this grip. So if you had a different grip on it that didn't have this thumb well, you should be able to get to that screw. I'm going to drill a hole, or I'm going to notch this out in the back and then round it over so I have access to it. So you're going to want to pull your battery out. 9-volt battery. Nice. And then down in here, you're going to want to go down in here, and there's some, I'm just using a tool, and there's a piece of foam in here. That's just some padding for your battery. Put that aside. And if you can see down in here, if I can get the light in there, this is an AEG grip, which is nice. So if you have any of those AEG grips that have a hinge container, you can use your favorite AEG grip, I think, on this. Whatever you can find out there. And it has you can use a battery cover. You could probably install a switch on it somewhere, a little micro switch to turn the battery on and off. So you don't have to unscrew it every time. But this has a little hinge door, which is nice. But we got to take the grip off. So let's go down, and there's two screws down here, just like the AEG. You're going to take these two screws out. These are Phillips heads, so they come out fairly easily. Take me a second, and we're almost there. Okay, and then you're going to feed the wire. And what I do is, there is a disconnect on the wire. Pretty easy to disconnect it. Like this. And then I set this aside so I don't want my screws to fall out. Okay. So there is the bottom, and you see this looks very similar to an AEG. The bottom, but this actually piece comes off. We're not going to do that, but it reveals this bottom screw hole. Okay, and that's what we want to get those two screws out. So we're going to take I think it's our 5/64. I think that's what it is. Let me check. Our 9/64. Excuse me. It's our 9/64 Allen, and I'm going to go down here, and there should find a Allen head. And we're going to spin this guy out. I'm going to flip it upside down because I want it to fall with the screw so I get everything out. Oh, it didn't come out. Don't worry, if this screw doesn't come out, it just kind of falls in there. You'll be able to get out here in a second. Then we go to the top, we unscrew the top one, and it comes out, set that screw aside, and now you have both screws out. This just slides off the back, just like that. Drop that other screw out, it's in there. So all this is a filtered ASA. It's got your depression pin in there for your valve on your tank. And this is an O-ring that seals in this chamber, and then there's a couple screws top and bottom that hold this in here. If you look, there's that screw hole there, and you can see on top the screw hole there. And then if we go down in here, that is your adjuster. Okay, so let's look at this. It is pretty far taken apart, right? And so are you going to do this in a field? No, you're not. So what I did to adjust it is I didn't put the grip back on, and all I did is when I put this back on is I put the top screw in. Okay, because all that does is it holds it from sliding out, and the O-ring does all the sealing. Okay, the bolt just holds it from moving. And then I slid my top cover on, and what I would do is I would adjust it, and the adjusting this, it says in the book, go to the page here, you're going to rotate it clockwise, that little screw in there, rotate it clockwise to lower the velocity and counterclockwise to increase it. So we're going to turn it this way to lower the velocity and this way to increase it. Out to increase, in to lower. Alright, and one thing I did know is, if you look in here, that screw set in a black aluminum piece, that seemed like it unscrewed at one point, and when I put this back in here, it would only set right here, it would only go that far in, had a little gap. And then I realized I just had to screw the screw in, so I don't know why it did that, but it's in there fine now. So I think it was just a little snug when I did the initial loosening it out, because I wanted to increase the velocity because mine was shooting pretty low. It was about 311 feet per second. Not pretty low, it's just lower. And so I wanted to increase it. So I wanted to back that screw out, but I ended up backing out the whole thing. Fixed that real quick, but then I was way out of whack. And when I finally put it back together, I had to really adjust it. So what I do is I'll get my upper right, and instead of, I don't even put this front pin in. It's nice and snug on here. It's not going to go anywhere. And this is, I get my battery and I connect my battery connector here, put my mag in it, and then I put on my tank, put that bolt down there, fire it with the BBs I want, and then degas it if it's not where I want it. Slide this forward a little bit so I can access this hole, take that out, make sure everything's degassed, adjust it, put everything back together, put this back together, and do it all over again. And so that's kind of time consuming and annoying, but it's for a purpose, folks. It's because they want to be able to make sure people aren't out there adjusting their regulators in the field. This is going to be tough, and that's so you don't have those hot shotters or those jewel creepers and stuff like that, so they can help control some of that. I think it's a good idea. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. And so that's how you adjust the velocity. Actually, let me back up. That's how you adjust the velocity on a 13 CI tank. The ones that take the 12 gram cartridges are exactly the same. You're just going to untake these two screws out, slide that mechanism back without the cartridge assembly in there, and adjust it the same way. You still have to take it down if it's got a hand guard here, like this one did on the grip. That covered that hole. If you have a different grip on there that doesn't cover the hole, then you don't have to take this off. So having that grip makes it even more difficult. It's not tough. It's general tools and stuff like that. But from there, we're going to have some other videos on kind of the internals of this thing. So thank you much.